Another big story we're looking at for the day. A man possibly implicated in the suspected killing of Karabo Mokoena is due to appear in the Johannesburg Magistrate's court. Let's take you live to our reporter Karyn Maughan. She's outside that court today for us. Good morning to you, Karyn. You know, the kind of reaction that the story has drawn from the public at large, just the outrage. You're in court today. Give us a sense of what is happening there, but also the family members that have to go through the process of confirming identities and trying to get to the bottom of what happened in this case.
Well, Kathy, the family of Karabo Mokoena arriving here in the last half an hour or so, they're waiting for a court to be allocated to the man suspected of killing her. And just, you know, I'd say over 24 family members, and absolutely undescribable grief. Female relatives just in tears, some of the male relatives standing around waiting for that docket to be presented so that a magistrate can be allocated, standing quietly in the passageway, and just some of the women just crying. I mean, I can't even put into words the feeling of sorrow and grief. We know that a family representative has described how they had to go to the mortuary and look at photos of her charred remains to try and identify her. Of course, the police going through the formal DNA verification process, but one can only imagine what it may be like for people who knew a vivacious, beautiful 22-year-old who herself was passionate about the cause of victims of abuse, now having to go and essentially identify her charred remains, barely recognizable as that beautiful young woman that they once knew.
Karyn, what do we know about the suspect? And also talk to us about this case of assault, which some family members have said had already been opened.
Well, interestingly enough, the police telling the Star that they couldn't find a record of an assault case opened by the young woman, Karabo, but they did in fact find that the man accused of her murder, who we can only formally name once he's appeared in court, had in fact laid a charge against another woman who was apparently his girlfriend for assault. So certainly there does appear to be a history of his involvement in some form of domestic violence incident, alleged domestic violence incident. We know that Twitter has been abuzz with naming him and a number of allegations about who he is and what he did for a living, certainly presenting himself as somewhat of a successful alleged forex trader, living the life on Instagram. Of course, once he has formally been identified in court, we can name him. He is 27 years old. Her uncle saying that he'd never been formally introduced to the young man, but that in fact he had played quite a central part in searching for Karabo Mokoena. According to the uncle, he has admitted his involvement and in fact led police to the spot where he claimed to have dumped her body. Of course, the police now saying that they had found her remains actually the day after she disappeared, but because of the state of her, having been burnt, etc., they hadn't formally linked those remains to this young woman and are now in the process of formally doing so.
Karyn, just perhaps just for the sake of the chronology of events in this particular case, take us through when she was reported missing and what has happened in the last few weeks that has brought us to this moment.
Well, essentially what happened was, our understanding is that she went missing in late April. She was then apparently discovered by police after, members of the community said, in this park in Bramley, after members of the community said that they'd smelt this burning. They then discovered her remains. But of course, at that point, Kathy, she was not identifiable because of the effects of the fire. Her family then, she was missing. They went on social media, people were putting out posts, and it was only then when the pressure of this whole situation sort of imploded on social media that we saw, the police apparently making renewed efforts in questioning those around her. According to the uncle, it was in the early hours of Thursday morning that the man who will now be appearing in court, apparently, according to him, confessed. He then led police to the place where he, said that he had dumped her remains. The police then able, through their own processes, because they had a record of remains being discovered there, to connect those two events. Of course, there are big questions at this point. If he has made a formal confession to a magistrate, has he made a statement? Because there are very formal processes around so-called confessions, or did he make the statement to the police? Will he be attacking that? We don't know at this point if he is in fact legally represented. Will he be recanting or admitting to making that statement to the police? All of those are very, very big questions that will shape the litigation going forward. We understand that he's either facing a Schedule 5 or Schedule 6 offence, which means the onus is very much on him to show why there are substantial and compelling circumstances why he should get bail. Given he has projected a lifestyle of quite profound affluence and wealth, it's likely that he will have a legal representative, and it's also likely that we will expect some form of bail application, if not today, but then certainly next week.
All right, Karyn, thanks for that. That's where we'll leave it for now. More from Karyn on this story throughout the day. She's at the Johannesburg Magistrates Court.